Joining us right here in the studio, Labor Party lawmaker Yossi Yona. Yossi, great to have you here. Before we get to the troubles or potential troubles of the Labor Party and the Israeli center left, when you see some of those numbers, where do you think we are in this race now? 32 still for the ruling Likud, by far ahead of everyone else.
Well, it seems that if elections, as you were saying before, being held today, probably the Likud would be, Netanyahu would be probably the person entrusted with the responsibility for forming a coalition government. But, well, we've got 2 months ahead, and changes might actually take place.
And let's just talk about the Labor Party. Unfortunately, Yossi, we have to be honest. Given 8 seats projected for Labor, even if they would get a few more in your current ranking, you would not be returning to Parliament. 8 seats, a big drop from where Labor was, but maybe a little better than people saw it doing just a few weeks ago. Yeah,
first, of course, it's not a question of being honest, just being a question of being realistic. And being realistic, I'm out. I mean, this is the end of the story, and I'm fully aware of it, and acquiescing with the result. Have no resentment, no claim. The primaries were held beautifully. Turnout was really very impressive, while everybody was eulogizing the Labour Party. People coming from into the polls, and it was a beautiful democratic celebration. And the end result, as far as I'm concerned, I'm out. The members of the party.
But the Labour Party, you think, is in?
The Labour Party is in. I don't think that we're going to see that the Labour Party would evaporate following the upcoming elections. And even there is, as you probably saw, some kind of a surge in terms of the public support for the Labour Party. Some people might say it only temporary because of the elections, and it brings some kind of a good spirit, and there is a resurgence of some kind of zeal and enthusiasm. Of course, the challenge, or the question, if you wish, whether this kind of a resurgence of zeal and enthusiasm would stay with us, and whether it would even grow.
Stay in power until April 9th, until that vote.
Indeed. And Yossi, while we are talking about the future of Israel's left and center, the Meretz Party is holding its primaries today. Before we take you there live, our diplomatic correspondent Mike Wagenheim looks at the one party still clinging to the mantle of Israel's hard left.
A first, and possibly a last. The Meretz Party, Israel's far-left faction, holds their primaries on Thursday. The party's Central Committee had always chosen the list of candidates to represent Meretz in national elections. This time, 140 polling stations around the country open up for its 20,000 members to cast their votes. Will it all be a wasted exercise? A power player in Israeli politics in the 1990s, Meretz currently holds just 5 seats in the 120-member parliament, and some polls project Meretz won't have the votes to qualify for the next Knesset at all, and could collapse as Israel's demography continues to shift away from the left.
What's count is the elections in April 9th. I mean, until then, we're going to see few polls from 4 seats to 12. I don't know. I believe in the end it will be something between 7 and 10. I believe we will increase our power.
Some in Meretz are concerned the primaries will leave them without any Arab representation. Meretz's Isawi Frej is currently the only Arab on the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee. And the fighting for realistic slots in the general election will be fierce. According to party rules, new Meretz chair Tamar Zandberg is guaranteed the #1 spot. 3 of the top 6 must be women, and the #5 slot must be someone who is not currently a parliament member. But all that could go out the window if Meretz decides to join up with the struggling center-left Labor Party and run on a joint ticket, hoping that to voters the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In fact, Meretz's forerunner, the Mapam Party, teamed with Labor to form the Alignment and won a record 63 seats in 1969. The partnership collapsed following the disastrous Yom Kippur War and various corruption scandals.
We're not closing any doors, but as it seems today, the chairperson of Labour Party, Avi Gabay, said he's not willing to discuss that. So we think that it's irrelevant. We view ourselves as the party of the left.
Meretz and Labor have until February 21st to figure out if they want to team up. If not, Meretz will go at it alone and hope their first primary isn't their final one. Mike Wagenheim, I-24 News.
And that party's primary is underway now. Our diplomatic correspondent Eli Ochenberg joining us from where they are gathering in Tel Aviv. Eli, as we just heard, the Meretz party, the left wing, sort of struggling to hold on to its place on the Israeli political map. So what is the atmosphere like there tonight?
Well, Nurit, according to the very high and I must say impressive voter turnout, those primary elections are extremely important for the Meretz party members. We're talking about over 70% with still about 2 hours to go, way higher than the numbers we've seen in both the Likud party and the Labor Party primary elections. And to discuss this eagerness or this emotional engagement of the Meretz party members, if you will, now joined by Mr. Dor Morag, the former Secretary General of the party. Thank you very much, Mr. Morag. So we're indeed seeing an extremely high voter turnout. Why are we only seeing the primary elections being held this year for the first time?
Well, I think it's a process, a very democratic process that we've started this past year. It's a very positive process. I think the party has opened up a bit, thanks to our former party chair. But I think that people are very interested, very engaged. Our supporters are very committed people. This is why the percentage is very high. I think it's going to be above 80%. People are very committed. They want to help the party. They want to show their support. It's a very important day. I think in Meretz, every candidate is a very also committed person. And no matter what the outcomes are going to be, the entire 10 first candidates are going to be very excellent candidates. There's more than 20 very good candidates. So I think it's going to be a very good process for the party. Then we're going to see a very rise of support starting tomorrow.
Well, we indeed seeing committed members and committed candidates, but the Israeli people not so much. There are some speculation on a potential merger with the Labor Party to increase the clout of this left-wing bloc. Is it feasible?
Well, it might be feasible. I think that in general, I think we are in favor, but we have to make sure that our parties or the unification with the Labor is going to keep us on the left side and not being more to the center. If at the end of the day it's going to be to the central party and not to the left, we didn't do anything because Meretz is very left. So we have to make sure. And now with Gabay, it's a bit of a problem. It's very much to the right, and it's very hard for me to see it happen as long as he is the chair of Labor Party. We are very different from him, okay? Everything that we say is very clear, our values, our opinions, and I think for now, also we see in the polls, this last poll, we got seven seats. It's a change. I think that our supporters coming back home from Lapid, from Gantz, returning to vote for us. And I think the polls are going to be much better for us in the next 3 weeks.
Well, indeed, a very impressive number on the I-24 News Israel Hayom poll, 7 seats. We'll have to see if you manage to maintain this public support. This is all the time we have. Thank you very much, Dror Morag. Back to you in the studio, Kalev and Nurit.
And Yossi, as we heard, your party leader, Avi Gabay, is against unifying Labor with Meretz. What do you think? Should there be unification?
Well, you see, I'm define myself as a left Zionist, and I'm very much in favor of this unification on ideological basis. Now, as far as my party and the leader of my party is concerned, the question is that of necessity. Nietzsche would say that, or said that necessity is the mother of all inventions. Yep. So if there wouldn't be necessity, there would not be unification. Now, what I mean by that, necessity, what kind of necessity? Suppose that there would be some kind of unification between Lapid's party and the Gantz party. That would pose a threat, a serious threat, not only to Meretz, but also to Labour Party. Under such conditions, it might be that the wisest, more expedient thing to be done would be the unification with Meretz.
All right, jury's still out. We'll see after these primaries also where that goes. Yossi Yona, thanks very much.